Welcome back to the Sports Fix on this Monday evening. It's time for our Statman to join us and give us our AFL wrap from the weekend.
Thanks, Clayton. It was another big week in AFL action, and we're going to have a look at the matches and the match results from both the AFL and the AFLW. And in fact, we might start with the weekend that was in AFLW because it was the last minor round of fixtures. Now, the top six, which will play finals, were locked in, but in what order would they finish? That would be decided on a very intense round of fixtures in Week 9. So the Western Bulldogs on Friday night, they ended their season on a high with a victory over Richmond, 7-3-45 to 5-2-32. Action heated up on Saturday where North Melbourne took on Fremantle in a match that had significant connotations, particularly for North Melbourne. A win here would see them lock in a finals berth, and they managed to prevail by 1 point, ending Fremantle's chance of a home preliminary final. They beat them 4-6-30 to 4-5-29. So North Melbourne sneak into the finals there in 6th position. Another massive result on Saturday with Melbourne taking on Brisbane at Casey Fields. Melbourne getting the job done there, led by Daisy Pearce, 6-2 to 6 straight, just 2 points in it. Now, this would open the door for a team that we're going to talk about in a moment to finish top of the ladder, in fact. And Brisbane slipped down to second on the ladder. Melbourne, of course, locked in 4th spot on the ladder to pick up a home elimination final, which we'll talk about in a moment. The Gold Coast Suns, they finished the season winless. The Cats getting their first and only win of the AFLW season, 6-5-41 to the Gold Coast Suns, an inaccurate 3-6-24. This game decided the minor premiers. It was held yesterday, Sunday. The Adelaide Crows playing Collingwood, and it was the Crows getting the job done, 4-7-31 over Collingwood, 2-5-17, a home preliminary final for the Adelaide Crows decided, and they could face Collingwood again, I believe, in the finals, should Collingwood manage to get over the top of North Melbourne, who slid down to 3rd on the ladder on the back of that loss. Other matches that were, I guess, insignificant in terms of the final table standings. GWS went down to the Carlton Blues by a point, so 3 games in this final round decided by less than 2 points. And St Kilda thumped the West Coast Eagles to finish their season on a high as well, 11-10-76. For mine, St Kilda were the best team in the AFLW not to be in the finals, and they will improve more next year. The West Coasters 3-2-20. That left the final table sitting as the following. In the top 6 positions, the Adelaide Crows, the Brisbane Lions finished top 2. They'll each earn home preliminary finals, and they finished there on percentage from Collingwood, who finished with 7 wins as well in 3rd spot, and Melbourne, who finished with 7 wins and a poor percentage, which sees them in 4th position. Go back then to Fremantle and North Melbourne, who finished 5th and 6th, and will both have away finals, although North Melbourne will be playing Collingwood, so they don't have to travel too far. Fremantle, though, will need to hop on a plane and head to Melbourne to take on the Demons. Carlton missed out. They finished 7th along with the Western Bulldogs. GWS, they finished a disappointing 9th, Richmond 10th, and St Kilda a disappointing 11th, but they lost a lot of fairly close games at times this year, the Saints, and I think there's plenty of upside for them. West Coast, Geelong, and the Gold Coast Suns all have a lot to do. That's the AFLW wrap, and we'll talk more about the finals campaign in the future. Let's have a look at the AFL men's competition now in Week 2. Go back to Thursday night. Collingwood beat Carlton in the end, again by just 21 points. So Carlton competitive, but not good enough. Collingwood 16-10 to Carlton 13-7. Moving on to Friday night, what a controversial game this was, and a thriller at GMHBA Stadium, where the Cats held on to win by a point against the Brisbane Lions, who, they've had to deal with a very contentious non-holding the ball decision in the goal square, which would have seen them win the game, but it wasn't to be for them. Listen out for the Point Post tomorrow if you want to hear more about that topic. Moving on to Saturday's games, the Adelaide Crows travelled to Sydney to take on the Sydney Swans and just couldn't get their mojo in front of goal. They had 33 scoring shots to 31 in a competitive outing, which Sydney controlled for most of the game after quarter time, to be fair. The Swans, 18-13, 121 to the Crows, 11-22-88. Their radar was well off on the day. Tex Walker booted 6 goals and Buddy Franklin kicked 3 in his return goals for the winners, and they would be pleased to see him back on the park. Port Adelaide thrashed Essendon 18-11-119, Essendon 9-11-65. Port Adelaide are absolutely the real deal, and they are flying at the moment. In Spud's game, the match which shined a light on mental health issues, it was the Demons who upset the Saints. It's also the battle of heaven and hell when the Demons take on the Saints. And it was Melbourne 12-19, again an inaccurate kicking side there, over the Saints 11-7. They tried hard to pinch it at the end, but it was just too little too late for the Saints, and Melbourne did more than enough. Max Gawn starring for them, back in some good form, along with Christian Petrarca, who was outstanding as well. The Gold Coast Suns demolished a pitiful North Melbourne, who are really struggling. 14-14-98, North Melbourne 5-9-39 in the rain and slippery conditions up there on the Gold Coast. They were terrible, North Melbourne. Gold Coast did what they had to do, and they have a date now with the Adelaide Crows this weekend, and that will be an intriguing contest, that one. On Sunday, Richmond, the reigning premiers at the MCG in an away game, surprise, surprise, they took on Hawthorn and beat them 11-12-78 to the Hawks, 7-7-49. Tom Mitchell outstanding for the Hawks, while for Richmond, Dustin Martin has 2 best-on-ground performances in his first 2 games of the year and could be staring another Brownlow medal in the eye. The match of the round for mine, though, was absolutely played yesterday at Marvel Stadium, where the Western Bulldogs, again in a controversial clash, this one, over the West Coast Eagles. And it was the Bulldogs 14-16-100, the West Coast Eagles 14-9-93. They had their chances in this one, the West Coast, led by as much as 2 goals late in the game, and could have led by 3 goals had Jamie Cripps not kicked into the man on the mark. But the Bulldogs did enough, hung on. Marcus Bontempelli outstanding in this clash, kicking the sealer with about 30 seconds on the clock. So the Bulldogs are up and about early in the season. And the final match yesterday was surprisingly one-sided in the way of the Fremantle Dockers. And talk about inaccurate kicking. This was a Crow-esque performance by the Dockers. They kicked 11-21. Could have won this by a lot more. Mind you, GWS weren't that much better in front of the big sticks. They kicked 7-14-56. Neither side to be happy with their goal kicking. Fremantle were in control for the majority of the day. And where are GWS at the moment? They are really struggling as well, and could even find themselves, if they don't extract the digits shortly, loitering around the bottom 4 for most of the year. They certainly don't look like it at the moment. Fremantle weren't that great last week. Mind you, they are a different side on their home deck. So that's the end of the round. And, of course, it leaves us... won't spend too much time looking at the ladder because we're only 2 games in. But Port Adelaide, Richmond, Sydney, Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs are your 5 undefeated sides through 2 rounds. Who hasn't had a win yet? Well, that belongs to Brisbane, Carlton, and then GWS, Essendon, and North Melbourne. Those 3 clubs, the last 3 we mentioned there, they are in massive trouble. They are struggling big time. And there it is, Clayton. That's your look at AFL this week. We'll have the point post, of course, with the boys from AFLW that you can find on our Facebook page, Flow FM Australia. Like the page if you don't already. And we'll talk more about AFL later in the week, heading into a big Easter weekend.